Welcome, and over to you, Atul.
Great. Thank you so much, Maria. And good to see people joining in. And I would just pull up my slides before I start, presenting and sharing what I have. So I'll just put it up. And yeah, I think my screen should be visible. Great. Yeah. So I think I'll get started, and then we'll go through the journey and the webinar. So all the world's a stage, and all the men and women are merely players. They have their exits and their entrances, and one man in his time plays many parts. His acts being seven ages. At first, the infant who's mewling and puking in the nurse's arm. Then the whining schoolboy with his satchel and shining morning face, creeping like snail, unwillingly to soothe. And then the lover, sighing like furnace, with a woeful ballad made to his mistress's eyebrow. Then a soldier, full of strange oaths and bearded like the pard, jealous in honor, sudden and quick in quarrel, seeking the bubble reputation, even in the cannon's mouth. And then the justice, in fair round belly, with good capon lined, with eyes severe and beard of formal cut, full of wise saws and modern instances. And so he plays his part. The sixth age shifts into lean and slippered pantaloons, with spectacles on nose and pouch on side. His youthful hose well saved, a world too wide for his shrunk shank, and his big manly voice turning again towards childish treble. Pipes and whistles in his sound. Last scene of all that ends this strange, eventful history is second childishness and mere oblivion. Sans teeth, sans eyes, sans teeth, and sans everything. So, what I narrated was the famous poem All the World's a Stage by William Shakespeare. And don't worry, I am not an English literature expert, and neither this webinar is about English literature and William Shakespeare. But I'm going to be doing something interesting with this on the lines of the poem that I shared. So, hello and welcome to everyone who is joining into this webinar. I would be talking about a Shakespearean journey of a platform. So, I'm taking a different take on platform and platform engineering, going away from the engineering, the cultural aspects of platforms. Before I begin, a quick introduction about who I am. So I am Atulpriya Sharma. I'm based out of Hyderabad, India, and this city is also known as the biryani capital of India. So if you have ever had the Indian dish of biryani made from rice, Hyderabad is the number one place to have it. On my work front, I am a senior developer advocate at InfraCloud Technologies, and I'm also a CNCF ambassador, an open source contributor and maintainer as well. I contribute to things related to cloud native, Kubernetes, DevOps, and platform engineering. I'm part of the platform working group of the CNCF tag app delivery as well. Outside of work, I am a big time foodie and a travel blogger. So when I'm not working, when I'm not writing, when I'm not giving talks, I could be found at a restaurant trying out new food or maybe traveling to a new destination. You can connect with me on Twitter or X at the rate the Deck Maharaj, at the rate Atul Maharaj, and you can also connect with me on LinkedIn. Now, with that out of the way, what you saw at the beginning was a recitation of the famous poem All the World's a Stage, which was written by William Shakespeare. And I'm sure a lot of us would have come across this poem at some point in their college, in their school, or even out of interest, you would have read it. And this is a very classic poem by Shakespeare, which is part of a larger monologue, which comes from his famous play, which is As You Like It. Yeah, As You Like It is the play where this is part of a monologue. So as I recited the poem, there were distinct seven stages of life which Shakespeare has mentioned in his poem. So, you start with infant, who's crying, and then you have schoolboy who doesn't want to go to school. And then you have the lover who is passionate, and then you have the soldier, who is ready to take up the oath. And then you have the justice where, the person actually matures and he has seen life and he's able to take a lot of critical decisions in life. And then eventually getting into the old age where, the voice actually again becomes very feeble from a manly voice, eventually leading to death. Now, while the poem talks about 7 stages of life, what I've realized over time is that there are a lot of things around us to which you can apply this. So everything around you, you can probably bucket them into 7 stages. So, it could be your cell phone. When you buy a cell phone, it's brand new, it's infancy, you just got it out of the box. It's shiny, the screen is good, the sound is perfect. But then, as the years pass, as the time passes, you'll see scratches on your phone, the audio not working, so on and so forth. So, whether it is your phone, it is your car, it is your relationship, everything goes through different stages. Now, while Shakespeare had written this poem in 1500, I'm sure if he was around now, I'm sure he would have written something related to technology as well, with new platforms, with new AI models coming every day. I'm sure he could have penned down something for this. While unfortunately he's not here with us, what I'm doing is I'm going to take you on a different journey of platform, drawing parallels between the 7 stages of life to 7 stages of a platform. So here's my take on the platform, and this is titled All the Platforms a Stage. So all the platforms a stage, and all the men and women are merely contributors. They have their exits and their entrances, and one platform in its time plays many parts. It acts being 7 ages. So what I'm going to do over the next few minutes is that I'm going to draw parallels between the poem, the actual poem, and platforms, and compare the 7 stages that a platform has. So here are the 7 stages that a typical platform has. You start with inception, and then you move on to development, and then you move on to launch, maturity, expansion, optimization, and legacy. Now, these are the stages based on the poem and also based on how a platform actually evolves. So for each stage, I would be discussing the different characteristics of a platform, of the team, who are involved, the stakeholders for every stage, and then what are the challenges associated with each of these stage as well. So diving in, the first stage is inception. So like you had the newborn baby, in this case, this is the stage where the idea of platform is conceived. So at this point in time, the stakeholders, the teams who are working realize that there is a need of a platform. So the whole idea of platform is conceived, and at this phase, it's more of a vision or a blueprint. So the stakeholders in the team, they envision that they need a platform to help the day-to-day routine tasks that their developers are doing. So the primary trait of this stage, if I have to say, is potential. So essentially, when you are thinking of a platform, of building a platform, you essentially talk about, or rather think about how this platform is going to help the people whom you are building for, your developers. What you also do is you conduct market research and gather requirements from the existing developers within the organization. So these are the inputs that help you build your vision of the platform that you need. You define the core objective of the platform that you are building, and then eventually you also identify, or rather draft, a very high level architecture and the tech stack for your platform. So if I have to give a better word for this, then it has to be platform as a product, because this is where you think about building your platform, which is like a product. So you involve everyone who would be using it, who would be funding it, who would be maintaining it. You will get all these stakeholders on board, and then you will take their inputs to decide how your platform would be built. talking about challenges, one of the major challenge in this phase is securing the funding and resources for the project. So it's very difficult for any team to reach out to their stakeholders and convince them why a platform is needed. So that is one of the critical tasks. And then also, ensuring the alignment between the stakeholders, the vision of the platform, the goals of the platform, and also, even identifying the right technology stack that is required to build the particular platform that you're thinking. So this is what essentially is the inception phase all about. It's more of an idea, it's more of a vision that you have, and then you have the challenges that are associated with it. Now, once you have the idea in place, once you have the vision, the next step is actually building what you have had. So, this is where you actually start creating the foundational elements of your platform, and these essentially would be the capabilities that your platform offers. So if you are, reading about platforms, internal developer portals, you would come across the term known as platform capabilities, which are essentially the services that a platform offers. Things like CI/CD integration, or integration with, let's say, security scanning tools, or integration with observability tools. So these are the capabilities that your platform offers. So you essentially start creating these foundational elements based on the research that you have done in your inception phase. And then you start developing these features over time. So you code, design, and build the infrastructure. You try to bake in the core features that are required. So things like authentication, basic integration with your IDE, with your version control tool. So you essentially do that. And this phase also represents the opportunity for innovation and disruption, because this is where your platform actually starts taking shape. You are actually able to see the vision that you had of the platform in the inception phase. You start seeing how it is actually, molding or shaping up to be. And just like, previous stage, this has its own fair share of challenges. And one of the common ones here are the technical challenges that you have. I am sure all of you who would have been in any developer or site reliability role, you know that the moment you start developing something, you get a lot of issues, especially technical challenges like bugs or scalability issues, things like that creep in. So these are some of the challenges that come in with these. And along with this, what happens is, as a team who is developing the platform, you need to ensure that you are addressing the initial bugs as well, while focusing on developing the features as well. So now, at this point in time, you are seeing some form of a platform in place. You are able to see what you had envisioned in the inception phase. And then finally, the next stage is the launch phase, the most exciting part, if I could say so. Once you have identified what your platform has to be, once you have built your platform, it's finally time to announce and launch the platform for everyone in the organization. Now, a lot of organizations and teams that I have interacted with, even from my company side or individually as part of the platform committee, is that there are different approaches of building a platform. A lot of times people think that, hey, let me just integrate everything that I want my platform to have, and then go ahead and do a big bang release sort of. So, there are a few people who want to do that. But then I think a larger agreed, notion for launching a platform is that, you try to build the basic functionality that you need, which is also called as TPV, or thinly viable product. TVP, sorry, it's just like the MVP for a product. So just the minimum thing that you require for your platform, you envision that, you build that, and then you focus on launching that functionality to your developers and developer team. So this is where your entire development to deployment cycle actually finishes. And this is also where you start doing a lot of UAT testing. And then reach out to the users in terms of having a better adoption of your platform. And again, launch could be either, like I said, either it is a big bang approach, or you roll out incrementally to different teams, which obviously is a better option. And this is where you actually try to deliver the promised features and functionalities that you had discussed in the inception or the development phase. Now, while the platform is launching, what you also need to focus on is that if you have missed out on any feature, that will damage the platform's reputation. So that is why it is important to have a product-centric approach while you're building a platform and keep your developers involved right from the inception stage. So since they are involved right from the beginning, you can take their feedback and incorporate it to the platform that you're building, so challenges like these can be avoided. So you will have the features that your teams are definitely going to use. Now, another challenge, what happens during launch is that a lot of times the platform teams are happy that, hey, the platform is ready and it's launched and people would use it. But apparently people, let's say the teams are not using it. The adoption is not on the level that the platform team had thought of. Now, one of the reasons why this could happen is there is no adequate support or training for people, for your developers to use the platform. Now, if you don't have proper documentation, training material, or adequate support for your developers, then it's going to be really difficult for them to use the platform that you have built. So it is important to provide adequate support. So while you are launching your platform, make sure you have the reference documents, getting start guides, some templates, some videos in place, for your developers to, for that they can refer to it and start using the platform. And once you have that in place, you will definitely see the adoption happening. So now that the platform is launched, your developers are using it. It's time now to mature the product that you have, and it's essentially about adding more features, scaling the infrastructure to support the increasing user load that is coming in. So you try to optimize. So you try to scale your product or the platform that you have built. You focus on the stability and the diversity. What you also do is you try to introduce features and services based on the feedback that you got at launch. So at launch, when your developers have given you feedback that, hey, this is not right or this could have been better, you try to take that and incorporate it over time. So as a product manager for the platform, you will take these items, put it in your backlog, and start focusing on that in the maturity phase. So you essentially start refining the existing features that are present as part of your platform. Now, here, a significant challenge is actually balancing the act of adding new features versus refining existing features. So, as someone who is leading a platform team, you have to ensure that you are not spending too much time on either of the things. You need to strike a balance that you are working on new features while you are also focusing on improving the existing features that are present. So that is one of the challenges as well that come with this. Stagnation and complacency are significant risk, because once the platform is out, the platform team might become complacent that, hey, okay, the platform's out, people are using it, and that's done and dusted. So that's a very big challenge in terms of the whole existence of a platform. I think your platform should never be at a stagnant stage and has to continuously evolve. We'll touch base upon that in the later sections as well. So once you have this, where you are trying to refine features and add more new features, the next logical step is expansion. So what have happened until now is that you had a platform, you had a TPV, a TVP that you had released, you had developers who were using it. Now it's time for expansion. So which could mean that you are trying to onboard different teams within your organizations, different set of developers who would be coming up and using the platform that you have built. So that is expansion from the user base side of things, where you are trying to bring in more different type of users to your platform. The expansion would also mean in terms of the features as well. So, you want to add more capabilities to your platform, which could be adding new frame support for new frameworks or adding support for new tool integration. So these are the expansions, and this essentially will come in from the feed based on the feedback that your existing team is providing you. So based on that, you try to expand the offerings of your platform. Uh, and also, you, as I said, you focus on adding new capabilities, tools. Another thing, what also happens in this phase, or what could also happen in this phase, is creation of golden paths. So when you talk about platforms and platform engineering, uh, it could be, let's say, you have a task of deploying an application on a cluster and then scaling it. So let's say if this is a task. So initially, you could have built a simple shell script that does it for you. But then over time, when you started seeing the adoption of that, you started getting feedback from your developers that, hey, this is something that they are using quite often. You would want to create a golden path for it. And golden path essentially is basically a standardized path that developers will follow. So that is how you maintain consistency. So let's say when I'm talking about spinning up a cluster and deploying an application and scaling it, every configuration or setting that is required in this particular golden path will be set, upfront. And from a developer's perspective, a lot of things would be abstracted as part of this. So, all they have to do is probably click a button, provide a name, and the entire thing will be ready. So, in the expansion phase, you can look at building your traditional workflows into golden paths, also based on the analytics that you get from the previous phases from your developers. In terms of challenges, it is a challenge to manage the complexity of supporting different environments and teams and tools. So now that you have different set of users, different set of tools that are being added to your platform, this is where a lot of complexity kicks in. How do you modify your platform to support the multiple environments and tools that are coming in? How do you support the integration? How do you support, maybe, let's say, the backward compatibility? The tools that you are using might have a newer version, while you want to support the existing one that your platform teams might already be using it. Also, you need to ensure that there is data integrity and consistency along different systems, because now when you are expanding, you are getting in a lot more teams, a lot more tools. So data is extremely critical. And by data, I don't mean the application data, but more towards from the configurations perspective, or everything related to your platform. So you need to ensure that that is consistent across the different systems that we are trying to add. And also what happens here is that you might have an extra operational overhead that kicks in, because this is where, again, you are focusing on adding newer capabilities as well, and you are focusing on converting your existing workflows into golden paths as well. So when you have things like these, for managers, for leads, it becomes difficult to strike the right balance that is required. So that is another phase that is critical. Now, at this point in time, your platform has matured. It has gotten a lot of new features added to it, a lot of new frameworks. It has expanded. You have a new user base as well. You have onboarded different teams who would be, who would start using the platform that you have built. Now, once you are at this stage, the next logical step is to optimize the platform that you have built. While you have, done a lot of hard work right from inception to the maturity phase, now it's time to find the areas that you can streamline. So, let's say if you have to talk about, things like saving costs, for example. So, since you have a lot of analytics, enabled here, how your developers are using the platform. What you can do with those is you can identify areas where you can streamline the processes, or you can cut down the cost. So, if you think from a quality perspective, you talk about Six Sigma, for example. So, you could probably take that approach and identify the waste within your entire workflow, and either try to reduce the waste or eliminate the waste. And waste could be anything. It could be an extra step that is part of the longer workflow, which which could be removed. And even if it is removed, it doesn't affect the outcome of the entire workflow that you have. So, things like that will go here. So, you might have to involve more of the developers who are doing, you might have to set up a lot of meetings with them to understand what the processes that they are following, and if there is anything that can be, improved to improved to provide a better functionality. What you also try to do here is you try to improve the efficiency of the platform in a way it does things. There are a lot of workflows that might be happening. There are a lot of tools and platforms and other frameworks that your platform would integrate with. So you want to ensure that there is an efficient improvement on each and every integration points that you have built upon. And along with that, you definitely want to invest in automation. And investing in automation here is essentially talking about going a step further, because the whole idea of platform is automating a lot of manual tasks that you have, standardizing it or adding some consistency to all the workflows, that you are getting into the picture. So automation here would essentially be, trying to see what are the existing tasks which are not yet automated, the especially the human interventions that are required, how you can identify things like that and actually identify those areas and try to automate those processes or change those processes. So you try to do such things when you are in the optimized phase. You try to reduce costs. So, essentially it could be probably picking up any available off the shelf, FinOps tool, for example, integrate it to the platform, and it actually tells me the cost of the entire infrastructure that I have. It could probably give me data around team wise split or business unit wise split in terms of which team is using what services, so on and so forth. So it could also help me reduce costs for the deployments or the infrastructure that my teams are using. But it can also help me identify the areas on my platform itself where I can improve costs or reduce costs. So these are essentially the things that you focus on when you talk about optimizing the platform, because at this point in time your platform is at a very matured stage. Everyone's using it. You have all the required capabilities that a typical platform should have, and the next logical step, again, like I said, is optimizing every process and seeing what are the scope of improvement, and ensuring that the functionality is efficient. It delivers the right performance that is required without having much of overhead. But while we're focusing on optimization, there are its own set of challenges when it comes to focusing on optimization. Now, what happens is that when you are prioritizing your optimization efforts, uh, it might affect the functioning of the platform. You might disrupt any ongoing usage of the platform, because you don't want that. You essentially don't test in production, like they say. So you don't want to do that. So you definitely would have built a staging environment where your platform is, where you can actually tune these optimizations and then roll it out incrementally to your teams. Uh, Also, another thing here is you might be dealing with legacy code as well, because at this point in time your platform might have been something different at the inception phase, and now it might be completely different in terms of the tech stack or the features that have been added. So, addressing the legacy code and systems that are difficult to update is another challenge. And lastly, if you are not able to still identify areas for evolving your platform, then it's a very tricky phase, because you need to ensure that you are actually identifying areas where you can improve your platform, add more features. The requirement of your developers might be changing over time. They might be using different frameworks, they might be using different tools. So you want to ensure that as your developers grow, as your developers evolve, your platform also evolves with them, if not one step further. Now, once you have the optimized phase, and everyone in the organization is using the platform, the next stage is the legacy stage. Now, going back to the original poem, all the worlds stage, uh, in human life, at the end, when everything happens, the last phase is known to all of us. That is irreversible, and that's the death phase that we spoke about in the poem. But luckily for softwares, it could go either ways. You can either retire the platform, or you can either evolve it, and that very much depends on the strong feedback that you as a team get from your developers, from your stakeholders, in terms of how helpful your platform has been. And it then, based on that, you decide whether you want to retire the platform, or you want to evolve it. It's always a good idea to evolve the platform, because that way you are actually supporting the future releases, the future advancements that are happening. So your platform now is ready to face those challenges and provide a better performing service to the developers who are using it. So you probably want to ensure that your platform is now able to work with newer technologies, is able to meet the market demands. For example, if we talk about the current scenario, you have a new AI model coming up almost every day, if I'm not wrong. So with so much advancement in AI, you also might want to see how you can integrate AI to your platform, which will help the developers. Probably things like a GitHub Copilot, how you can integrate that to your platform, so that when your developers are using your platform, they have the support of AI, which probably helps them improve their task with a good margins. So things like that. So you need to always constantly think about evolving your platform. And what also happens, another call that you would want to take on this in this phase is, uh, you could either think of making it just an incremental update, or you would want to completely transform to a different product. So it could be your platform version 2.0, version 3.0. So a major chunk, or a major release, or a major evolution, that can happen. And even you could plan major upgrades in this phase, integration with more of modern technologies, like I spoke about the AI. Or if your platform initially was more based on API architecture, you would want to see if you want to add a CLI to it, based on the feedback that you get. Or if you want to build a UI for it, again based on the feedback. So these are some major overhauls that you do. And along with this, it's critical to have a transition plan in place as well. How you want to transition the existing platform to a newer platform, to a newer version. And that transition brings another set of challenges. So I'm sure if you have been working on any application or on setup, you know that how critical migration is. You migrate your users, you migrate your data, you migrate a lot of things from a legacy to a newer system, and that is extremely critical. So that is something which has to happen in this phase. You need to strategize and plan your transition, your migration plan, so you know how you're going to move your developers to the newer platform that you would build. And then you need to ensure that you also provide support for your legacy platform for some time before completely moving to the newer platform that you have. And the worst that can happen is the platform actually dies, and that is the biggest downside of this particular phase. If the stakeholders don't see any value in the platform anymore, if the developers don't see any value in the platform, it's eventually going to die. And that is where the whole platform engineering team comes into the picture, in terms of ensuring that all these stakeholders are always updated on what's happening. Take their feedback constantly, so that you never reach this particular stage. And once it reaches legacy, your platform is reborn, and then we go back again to the inception, and then you again develop and then mature, and the cycle repeats. So this doesn't happen in William Shakespeare's original poem, but in case of a platform, this actually repeats. Now, what I've been talking for the last few minutes was drawing parallels between the poem and the stages of the platform. But now, making things a little more structured, a little more serious, if I can say, I would like to touch upon a little bit on the platform engineering maturity model. So here's the QR code that you can scan, which will take you to the maturity model that the Tag app delivery has released. And I was glad to be a part of the team that has worked on this document. So I will stay on this slide for a few seconds, so you can scan and get hold of that link. It'll take you to that page. So until now, what I spoke was a very generic, very fun way of telling you how the platform evolves over different stages, what happens in each stage, what are the challenges, so on and so forth. Now, this entire 7 stages was actually, condensed and given a more formal approach in the platform maturity model, and that is what you actually see here on your screen now. So what we did as part of the maturity model was we defined 5 aspects that a platform should have. And for each aspect, there is a certain level of maturity for a platform. So the aspects here essentially were investment, adoption, interfaces, operations, and measurements. So when you talk about investment, how are staff and funds allocated to the platform capabilities? So, this was one of the challenge that we discussed in the inception phase, that how do you get funds for your platform. Now this again has 4 levels. So initially in the first level, it's voluntarily or temporary. So you would be like, okay, hey, I want to give a couple of hours to building the platform, or the stakeholder may say that, hey, I can give you X dollars for a few months, why don't you go ahead and see what the platform can what you can build out of it. And eventually, when your platform matures over time, so from provisional, you get into the operational mode where you have a dedicated team who looks at the investment that goes into the platform. They take care from the finance aspect, from a teaming resource perspective. And then, when it moves to a further mature stage, it becomes more scalable. Now, it becomes as a product. So you have a dedicated, probably a team, a business unit, which takes care of your platform as a product. And then the final stage of optimization, where you have a complete ecosystem in place for the platform. Similarly, for each and every phase, you can see here, and more details are in the in the QR code that you have scanned earlier. That page gives you most of the details. One thing that I would want to probably talk about here would be the interfaces, because that is the phase that I contributed to as part of this document. Now, when you talk about platform, when I spoke about inception phase and the development phase, you identify how you want your users to interact with your platform and consume the capabilities. So do they interact with the platform using a CLI, or do they interact with the platform using APIs, or does your platform have a UI? So how does that happen, right? So at the very basic stage, when the team is just starting out to build a platform, you have custom processes in place. So these are not standardized processes. It could be a set of shell scripts that the platform team has written, or probably a shell script that your uh, you know fellow developer has written, that you or everyone else in the team can use to accomplish certain tasks. From then on, if you're moving to the operational stage, this is where you have a support for standardized tooling in place. So now you have a more standardized approach to the interface. So you could have, let's say, hey, we are going with the API first approach. Now this is where it's a standard that you have created. You have a standardized and consistent APIs which your developers will use to interact and interface with your platform. And then when your platform further evolves to a scalable stage, this is where you have self-service solutions coming in. So based on what I need, I'm as a platform team, I can build a certain solution and put it on the port or put it on the platform, which acts as a self-service. So as a developer, I don't need to probably go ahead and call an API to do something, but now I can request what I need. I need a cluster. I need a test environment, an ephemeral environment with some observability in place. So these things come in when you go to the scalable stage, where these are more of a self-service solutions. And lastly, when you move to the optimized phase, it is more about the integrated services that you have. And at this point in time, your platform actually is integrated with a lot of other tools. It could include your version control, your IDE, your infrastructure provisioning tools, so on and so forth. So these are the phases that were part of the interface aspect that I worked on. Similarly, if you are looking at building a platform, not knowing how to start and how to evolve, I think the platform engineering maturity model is a good place to start. So here again, I'm showing the QR code that you can scan to get access to the maturity model that we have built. So yeah, I think before I wrap up, let me see if there are any questions or uh, in the chat. So yeah, I think Bill is asking, you just flashed the message on the screen that I never got to see. How can I see it later? So I think Maria will be sharing the deck with you once the webinar is over.
Correct. Yes. Everyone will receive the slides and record it. So you'll be able to see it later. I also inserted the link to the maturity model Atul mentioned in the chat, and we can also include it in the follow-up so you guys have access to it. But I guess, are we moving forward with questions? Did you finish?
Yes, I think there is one question and then I can wrap up. So I think Alex is asking, are there metrics or indicators you recommend monitoring to evaluate the health and success of a platform at each stage of its life? Now, thanks, Alex, for that question. And I think it's very critical to measure the progress at each and every stage. And what you will see is in this paper, when you go to each and every stage from provisional to operational or from operational to scalable, we have identified a list of qualitative factors that you can analyze based on which you can decide how your platform is evolving over time. So those are the metrics. I mean, you can also pick up any standard Dora metrics as well. That can be implemented at every phase, and that's when you realize you understand how the developers are using your platforms. Whether your metrics that you're tracking, you talk about MTTR or things like that, how they are being affected, and based on that you can take actions. So yeah, I think that's about it. So you can go to this white paper and you can get a lot more detailed answer to how to measure everything.
Nice.
So,
I see another question from Raul. Can you explain where backstage fits in the cycle and what it actually solves?
So backstage is, I think, one of the most popular, or yeah, popular, I think, is the right word. I mean, that's when you talk platform engineering, you definitely hear backstage. So I think backstage would probably be, so backstage essentially allows you to build internal developer portals, and it's a UI layer that is there along with a lot of service templates and software catalog that you build in. So I don't think it would fit in at any specific stage here, but then that is how you start building your portal. So if you want, again, that's a decision that you would probably make at the design or the inception phase, where you decide that, okay, hey, I don't want to take any tool to build my portal. Instead, I want to build it from scratch. Now, that is where you actually decide. And if you decide to go with backstage, considering all the pros and cons that you have, that's where you can decide and decide to take backstage and then integrated whatever is needed. Yeah, I think Siddharth mentions, Siddharth has given an answer that what are the service cataloging tools and how Backstage actually helps you to build your portal that you have. So I hope, Rahul, this answers your question. Great. I think we can move to the next question. I think Bill is asking, do you still have meetings to improve, like in sprints? What is different from sprints, i.e. agile? Yes, Bill, I think, agile is, I worked in the agile model, and, what I would also say is that you definitely would be taking this approach while you're building a platform. And I think, that is how you are going to plan. So if you are, let's say, in the inception phase, and if you have a platform team in place, it actually depends on you how you are going to drive the entire process. So if you are taking the agile approach, you can definitely have user stories defined based on the features that you want to build for your platform. You also want to plan your sprints accordingly. So the whole idea here is that you try to meet often with all the stakeholders, and by stakeholders I mean not only the platform team or the developers, but even people who are investing in it, or even people who are maintaining it. So it's always better to get all of them into a meeting, to understand their feedback on the platform, and based on that, to you can build the platform over time. So yeah, I think with that, I guess I don't see any questions here, so I'll quickly reiterate and wrap up. So platform evolves through distinct stages. It mirrors human life from conception to legacy, based on the Shakespeare's poem and the Shakespearean approach of platforms. Development involves laying the groundwork, which marks the platform's introduction to your team, and then growth and expansion follows. You solidify your platform, adding new features, and then you optimize the platform, and eventually you decide whether you want to sunset the platform or you want to take it to the next phase and evolve it. So to before I end, another thing that I want to mention here is that I conduct a lot of platform engineering specific webinars at InfraCloud. So this is the QR code that will take you to our webinars page, and we have done one with Humanitech as well, and that was around workload specifications. I do have some things around testing, something around observability. So we are doing it regularly, and if any of you are interested, you can scan this QR code to reach the webinars page that we do. And yeah,
Nice.
I think
There is one
pretty
more
much.
question. So Antul, if you don't mind, let's continue on the question
Sure.
side. Sorry, I misunderstood in the beginning that you wanna do the questions part and then wrap it up. Would the platform orchestrator be one of the interfaces specified in the platform maturity model? I'm still trying to grasp the concept of a single interface that aggregates everything that composes a platform, since many are abstracted from the developer.
So that's a very good question, I would say. I mean, from my perspective, I don't see the orchestrator as an interface per se, because that is something which actually does things in background and actually provisions the services or the things that are required by your developers. Interface essentially is how your developers interact with your platform, and this could be, let's say, like an API. I'm talking about. So in that case, what you do is, obviously the whole goal of platform is to abstract a lot of stuff. So in that case, let's say if I want to provision an EC2 instance, for example. Now what will happen in that case is that the API endpoint that I have, which actually takes care of provisioning the EC2 instance, that might abstract a lot of things from me. So internally they would have defined that, hey, this is the instance size that you're going to get, T2 micro, 10 GB RAM, this is the CPU. So this could have been already done, and which is abstracted from you. All you are going to probably provide is maybe a key value pair or a tag or a name for that EC2 instance, or maybe a region, things like that. So this is how you are interacting with the platform. So, from through the API is your interface. That is where you say that this is what you want. Eventually, this entire request would go to an orchestrator who would probably take an, IAC code, a Terraform code from some repository, and try to provision that EC2 instance on AWS and come back to you with the IP address of the instance that is created. So orchestrator as such, I won't say that it's an interface, but interfaces, it's definitely required. It's the glue that does everything that happens within a platform. So interfaces essentially, your API, your CLI, your UI, the way your developers actually interact with your platform.
Just to add to that, since we recently started talking about this new concept, right? Like the platform is building a platform is like building your software. So essentially it has a front end and back end, and the front end is the backstage, or this portal layer that you talked about before, and the orchestrator is actually your backend.
Yep.
As you mentioned, Atul, it's kind of like has the it does things essentially. That's what I wanted to. But that's the one of the ways to think about it as well, like front end and back end.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that's a really good way to put it, because there are a lot of tools out there that help you build the front end, but the essentially orchestrator is the one that does the heavy load of taking all the input from the users and actually provisioning things that is required. So yeah, I think I'm pretty much done. Thank you so much for listening. Before I hand over to Maria, thank you so much, for having me here. I hope this was a different take on the platform engineering sessions or webinars that you have been attending. A lot more poetic, though I'm not. I'm sure that I'm not done a great job reciting the poem. If my English professor would watch it, he would definitely rate me, below average to whatever I did. But
It was
yeah,
great. The whole
thank you.
combination and the analogy, between platform and the poem, I really, really loved it. It was amazing. Thank you so much for sharing your insights about building platforms and like the model from CNCF. And yeah, it was great. Thank you so much. One more thing,
Great.
are you going to speak at PlatformCon as well?
Yes, I will be at PlatformCon as well.
Nice. In case, guys, you don't know, technically it is a virtual conference, so you can also check it out. We're going to host it the second week of June, so June 11, June 10, June 14th. Also, we have amazing lineup. Atul is going to speak there. I don't know if about Shakespeare, but probably another topic, right? Yeah,
No,
and
I'm really looking forward to it. I'm sure it's going to be exciting. I've been listening to a lot of PlatformCon talks last year, and it's great to have a presence here this time. I'm lucky. I'm happy that my CFP got selected and I'm getting a chance to speak. So I'm looking forward to speaking and seeing a lot of other interesting talks as well.
nice. Cool. Well, thank you so much to you, Atul, once again. Thank you so much to everyone who joined us this evening. As I mentioned, we are going to send over slides and recording to everyone who registered, and see you next week. We have the sessions weekly, so if you want to sign up, you can also check it out on platformengineering.org, and we have it all listed. Thank you, and have a nice end of the day. Atul, hope you go to bed. It's already
Yes.
late.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you, and have a good day. Bye-bye.